Hey, good morning, everybody. Um, I'm working on a piece for one of my buddies and titled to be determined, um, but it's going to be a city landscape, as you can see, of Prague in the Czech Republic. And he's given me a photo to base this on. Um, I'm still in the blocking portion or the blocking phase. Um, I've tried to get everything in distance and scale and just try to get a good starting point. I've taken a break from this one for a while because I typically just don't tend to paint if I'm not really in the mood of focusing. Um, but it's been time to kind of get this back up and running. That's a lovely sound. Nice printer in the background. Okay. Um, so what I've done so far is brought these tones in where I want to base off my colors. Do want to note the sky is really dark right now in this, and I'll be lighting that up a little bit more over time. Um, as you may observe in nature, the sky isn't one solid color. It changes up based on a lot of different factors. And uh, we want to use the color of the sky to complement everything else because um, I really want to pull in this, uh, the structure and get it bright. I want it to stand out to some degree. Um, and I want the lighting to feel like the light is this way, there's a lot of shade, and it's going to pull us on an adventure to go around and get us to what should be the focal point. And if I can make it happen, I may even make it to where it goes to an invisible focal point where um, you have to imagine where the lighting is coming from to make the city glow, which ultimately brings warmth, life, and makes you feel like you can feel that warm sun coming down. So today, I'm going to focus in on additional blocking in for the street, the curb, in here. It's primarily going to be tones of yellow here and there because as the light reflects off these buildings, we're going to get different types of colors that are reflecting as these cobblestones have a sheen to them. They've been polished down, and so they're going to echo those tones on the street. That will take some time. Now we'll focus on yellows and um, the not so much intensity, but getting some constant colors in here and trying to figure out what the pattern is. There will also be some blue patterns at another time where we have blue is our fundamental primary color that's coming off of the reflection from the sky or reflection from the stones, alluding that we have some light coming from the sky. We can't put those in today together. Um, Thankfully, because the blues will also be part of the shading in between cobblestones, we'll have to let that yellow sit and probably for a couple weeks, at least a couple weeks. And the reason we're going to do that is so that we don't inadvertently make green. There is nothing green on the street that I can recognize in my example photo that I'm referring to. And certainly I don't want to chase my own tail later. So today we're just going to do something simple. We're going to bring some life to this, and we're going to kind of just get that going. Now today I'm doing something very simple. I only have 6 colors altogether. Those colors are titanium white. They are ivory black, buff titanium, ground white, yellow medium, and Naples yellow. I'm going to start with those because again, it's just blocking. I can always recover by in a couple days if I need to change it. If it starts to dry and the tones I don't like it, while it's still a little damp, I can still correct it. And I can continue to add those tones, but I will have to have a specific point in time that I leave the street alone and then start to work on, say, the sky, or work on these vertices that are projecting up and into the sky. These will be a little difficult at some point in time. These will also have to be done in tones of blue to get windows reflecting. So with the colors, etc., I'm also going to use some basic linseed oil. You can see it there. This one hasn't been refined and cleared. I'm not particularly, I don't really care about the yellowing in the linseed oil because naturally I'm working on yellows right now. Um, and I am using a basic dagger brush. Um, and this one is see if I can find it. Well, it doesn't really say it, but it's roughly, it's roughly 3/8 of an inch. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Let's go back to it. Roughly about 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, almost half an inch. It's probably one of my favorite type of brushes to use, predominantly because it has a good tip to it. It has a good blade edge to get lines in, and and you can scale how much. If you want to do squares, if you want to block in something, you can just turn it to a degree. It's a lot more manageable as opposed to say like a flat tip. Just a, that one you can use, but I find that it doesn't it doesn't give me the variety of brush strokes that I can do with some basic stuff. So I'm gonna look at my base photo, which you can't see, I can. And if for some reason there's some name brand on something, I'm not here to advertise any name brand on anything. I'm just doing my own artwork. But there's just as a fundamental thing. If you see any product name brands, I'm not by any means endorsing them or not endorsing them. I'm just an artist, and you get supplies. You want to get water, you go to the river. So it is with art supplies. All right. So we're going to be a little daring, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with this curve here. I know that I want to fill in about this much of this curve with a color, and I want to see if that color is going to match up. So this is going to be a little challenging. That's okay. I dabbed the brush in the linseed oil, and I just put some on the palette, and then I basically, the lighting's kind of horrible right now. I think you get the point. I don't think I need to show you. It's real simple. You're just mixing linseed oil into the paint, and I can see already that It's giving a little bit of a yellow tint to it. Again, I'm fine with that. So I want to dull this down a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of the buff titanium to detensify that white and mute that white. Let's see if I can get these colors to show up. No, it's kind of bright, isn't it? Do it this way. No, this is ridiculous. We're gonna have to crack the code on this lighting. Well, the thing is, I like the sun coming through, and it's giving me some stuff. Some other artists like don't use sunlight. Always use this. Always use that. I'm here to tell you, you can't put me in one shoebox. As I mix these colors, I would say that, and there's a lot of cases I've seen. Some lead artists out there can be a little obtuse in creativity, and then sure they're providing some principles, but there comes a point, there's a little self-righteousness going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use one of these knife tools, right? And I'm just going to use this to mix a little bit into my paint. But as I'm talking about, look, I don't mean to talk smack about other professional artists out there. They've been doing this quite longer than I have, you know, and they get paid good money to do what they're doing. They instruct a lot of people, and they want to keep getting students that can have repeatable and sustainable skills in artistry. And I completely understand that. But I fundamentally, I guess, let's put some Naples yellow in there. We got a little bit of a gray going on. And I want to mix that gray with some yellow. Stones are a little bit gray, and this yellow. Fundamentally, you know, when you have a problem to solve or there's something going on in life, you know, a lot of people have a tendency to say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Usually, just being transparent, anytime anybody tells me I should do something without knowing the full problem or knowing me, I'm really hesitant. Or when somebody says, the only way that you can do this to be successful is this, or this, I'm here to tell you, we all know that's a lot of malarkey. More importantly, this applies in all aspects of life, including art. There's not just one way. Can you get an effective sunlight on your painting where you might chase your tail? Sure. But what's the real point of the art? Is, I think, to enjoy what you're doing, to enjoy what others have asked you to do. Like in this case, painting this picture for my buddy. So, which I'll allow him his anonymity until he, at his discretion, decides he wants to have his name out there. So at this point, I'm adding a little yellow medium now. And I know you can't see that, that's okay. I think all y'all really cared about is this right here. So I believe I have the color that I want, and I'm just gonna go for it. I'm simply gonna go for it. And we're gonna go right here. Boom, look at that. I know that there's gonna be some shading here on occasion. I know we got a little divot and a curve there. So I can leave that divot there. I can fill it in, it don't matter. What I'm doing here, this is gonna be my base color. Now I've done stones before, and stones are really difficult. I did one painting of Skellig Island, and that was a challenge. there's a lot to be said about doing stones. I mean, it's tough. Stones have so many features. You'll notice there I kind of went over the curb a little bit. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter at all. You know, if forgive everything got oil to some degree, I can do this. I can simply just grab my paper towel. I can do that and clean it off. Done. How hard was that? Not hard at all. That's the problem with overloading the brush. So I was saying earlier about, only one way to do something, only use one type of lighting, or you should have lumens of this color, or you should do this, you should do that. Yeah, I mean, those are good fundamentals to learn, but I'm here to tell you, the best thing you can do for yourself to really get comfortable with anything is just like anything you've had for the first time. A lawnmower, a weed eater, cooking utensils. It takes time. You first have to get what you want to get and then go for it. Don't be discouraged by somebody telling you, well, you can't do it that way. And you should probably not be discouraged by yourself or by others. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Oh, you should do this. No, what I should do is paint and enjoy it. There's going to be a point in time like, we're just going to do this. Boom. We're going to go ahead and just fill this in. I want to get my scale where it needs to be. I'm not interested in filling it in and being perfect with all the granularity of the canvas behind the paint. That can change depending on how much gesso or acrylic you've started out with on your canvas. The advantage to filling that in with gesso and doing a couple layers of gesso, and wow, that's a bright sun. At least it's a pretty day outside. So what we can do is we can densify some of that sunlight. Bear with me. All right, there we go. Let's see if we can get that color in there now. All right, you can see the color I'm working with. You can also see the light, which I know that's kind of cool, right? You can see the color I'm working with here. A little bit of black, a little bit of titanium white, a little bit of buff titanium, and a little bit of Naples yellow, and a little bit of yellow medium. So 6 colors, just pulling it together. We'll go ahead and change the lighting here. There we go. So as you see, we change the lighting here. You can see the effect that it's having on just about everything. So what's our fine balance? I think it's right there. I think it's right there. Yeah. So a little lighting on me. Don't care. All right. So at this point, a little more brushing. Sorry, look over there. Only got one camera. Note to other people out there thinking about filming their work, the crafts. 2 cameras would probably be helpful, and then some different lighting. Getting everything scaled. Getting the angles, the focus. It's quite a bit to do the first time. I mean, this is my only second video, and it literally takes It takes a good 30 minutes right now to get things set up because I don't have the studio support. I don't have the knowledge. And I'm just trying to figure out what kind of angles I want to have because the last thing I want to do is start painting and then, my back is fully to you or you can't see what I'm trying to do here. So even for me, painting at this angle is a little strange, but I'm trying. Some of y'all have asked me to, oh, I should video your stuff. There's a should that I have listened to because it's encouraging. That's the other thing about shoulds and coulds and woulds. You know, what's their fundamental reasoning behind it? My other favorite thing about shoulda, coulda, wouldas, whether it be in art or in life, is the likelihood of the author of the should actually being present to assist you in your labors of love or whatever problems you're going through. That one always seems to be kind of a particular pattern. It's really easy to provide a should. It's much harder to follow through and help the person you're telling they should do something. So here we go. I know that out around here, this cable car, not cable car, a trolley, if you will, it will be powered by electricity. This trolley has got what looks like a small line running this way. And we're just going to take a daring step. It'll get blended in later, but we're going to take a little daring step to get this line, and I know this line needs to go here, so we're just going to go like that. Yeah, I'm dragging my finger on the canvas. Can't wait to hear the comments. What kind of artist are you? The free kind. I was saying earlier, you can't fit me in one box. For example, I'm 90% dressed with appropriate clothing to go hunting in Germany. So yeah, I have fished, but I'm not a fisherman right now. But I have been a hunter, fisherman, I'm a veteran, a lot of different things. And you'll see a lot of people doing artwork. There's just a preponderance in a lot of hobbies that people dress one way or dress in a pattern of ways, and you can't judge a book by the cover. But, redneck conservative hunters can be oil painters too. And yeah, and it doesn't require any need to be political or religious about anything per se, but everybody knows me, knows where I stand on a lot of those things. And yeah, you can be a lot of different things and you can do a lot of different things. You know? So I'm noticing here I have a lot more grays, and I think I can get some darker tones of yellow in here now. So what I'm going to start working on here is I'm going to start working on a pattern of some yellow reflections in this area, but I need to take this, I need to mute it more, probably with a little bit of ivory black. I love saying the painting colors that are labeled on the things. It makes you sound so smart. Ivory black. But it don't. It just takes a touch of ivory black to mute things. It really does. I'll give you an example. I just put a divot, just a very tip, like a ballpoint pen amount of ivory black into what I've already gotten here. And since I already got an area I can show, there's some right here. Yes. It's still coming up a little bit, but you can see the tone. So we're gonna add a little bit more. Leave that in there. And I'm gonna blend that in. You see that? Detensified. Also notice when I did that, I already have wet oil paint. And that's the nice thing about oil paint. If you're looking to make something look muddy and get those colors blended in a strange way, sure. When it's wet, it's the best time to do it. But if you're trying to get distinct colors, sometimes you can find yourself chasing your own tail with colors because you got the colors too muddy. Example, yellow and blue, right? If there's no green in the subject at that portion of the painting, or the portion of the focal point, then why make it muddy? And good luck correcting yourself. It's not impossible, but it does a lot of work. So what's my definition of subject? Well, the subject could be anything, but the subject is like, could be a theme. It could be the light. It could be nature. It could be a person in the portrait. And then you have, well, what's the focal point? Focal point for objects could be the terrain as it flows. A focal point on a person could be like, let's just use Mona Lisa's smile as an example. You know, it's just one of those things. All right, so we got a little bit of some bricks here, some stones. So we go ahead. I'm just going to, I'm not being precise in this. And I do notice that we have a lot of areas here that look like some buff titanium is getting in there. And we have an opportunity to darken it in. The linseed oil is really good for keeping the paint kind of moist. Just understand, when you use oils, they take longer to dry. I do prefer, 1, 2, 3, 4, we got about 10 stones. I do prefer to let my paintings dry naturally. I personally never used a blow dryer or any other kind of heating lamps to speed up the process. I find that just allowing the work to dry in between each of the phases, between blocking, highlighting, shadowing, detailing. I find that when you, yeah, look at that. That's pretty nice. See how it's shaping up? I find that it gives you an opportunity to just take a pause. Um, Sometimes, as you stare at paintings, um, or pictures, photographs, you're looking at your subject. You're trying to figure out, like, what's this going to be? What's it going to look like? Um, Sometimes you don't realize the colors that are staring right in front of you. And be surprised what you can do if you just slow down, take a look. So I'm going to go ahead and use this knife. As you can see, there's some old paint on it. This thing's one of my favorites. It's got this nice flat edge. I'm basically going to get some of that paint I had doing these, and I want to go ahead and do some of this right here. I want to make a nice line. Knives work really well. Just painting knives. They work really well doing some really neat stuff. And that's good enough for right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little more, some Naples yellow on that knife. We're going to add a little bit of that into here. And we're going to get the left side of this track for this car. One of these trolleys will come back this way. We got to do that track. So we're just going to highlight. I'm not concerned about these lines that aren't straight. Because they'll sort themselves out. There's a couple things to consider in artwork. A lot of people, there may be some artists out there or those that are thinking about being artists and they'll tell themselves, oh, I can't do that. I just don't have the skills to do that. I'm not that detailed. I'm here to tell you, nature is really chaotic. Colors, even the things that we build, the interaction of nature, even on man-made structures, the way the light bends, the way everything moves around. Moss, just use moss growing on a stone. A stone was laid by a man or a woman at some point in time years ago, and all of a sudden there's moss on it. So even something that a brick that could have been cut and shaped, or a piece of adobe put on a spot and then grew fungus later, it's going to adapt over time. Nature has its own way of doing things. And so think of a wall with vines and all those things. Think of how changing the artwork and where nature overlaps man-made objects, and it gives you a little bit of forgiveness in that you can adapt your colors as need be. And I notice we have some highlights as well in this area right here. So I'm going to just do a couple areas of just some titanium white. Just break this up because I'm seeing some reflections a little bit brighter. And then I also notice that we're going to have in this area right here, and kind of to be determined. We'll grab another brush for that, I guess. We're going to have a little bit of a, I'm going to change a little bit bigger brush, a little bit of a curve on the other side. So at this point, the curve in the sidewalk. Again, I'm just blocking, nothing fancy. I think I can get away with this color. I know that this needs to come out about here. And that's going to be our sidewalk. Kind of like we have this, that's what this is going to be on the opposing side. Earlier I was talking about gesso, and I was talking about you may be able to hear the brush, maybe. Some of that's from the fabric of the canvas. So when you fill this up with a big bottle of gesso, like you got gesso, it's basically like an acrylic, white acrylic, and you're taking a fresh canvas and putting it down here. It's going to fill up all those cracks. The more layers you do, you're going to get to a point where you have a smoother painting, a smoother canvas for the painting, to where the brush will glide. I mean, depends what you're going for. Especially like I have noticed when it comes, the smoother that the canvas is, in my opinion, which somewhat happens naturally, as you put layers down. If you go layer after layer and then smooth it out, those layers will fill in. But if you're looking for forgiving opportunities to detail with like really small brushes, brushes like this that will be part of tree branches, lines, vines. When you hit these little pieces in here of where the weaving of the canvas, and it has a texture to it, that brush can bump, and it bumps over, and you may have something that needs to flow, and where it's bumping over in the up and down crisscross thatch of the canvas will put an imperfection in that line. Examples would be any man-made object that's round, any object that is oval in shape, lighting that's reflecting something round, shading, reflecting something round. So it can be a challenge. Best recommendation is fill it in. So at this point, I think what we're going to do is we're going to find these highlights of where they need to be. And we'll go with the smaller brush again. This one was a number 12 dagger brush. Let's see. Is it yep, number 12 dagger brush. So, I found the number, it's an 8. The first one's an 8. The first one is an 8. I will say I probably used the 8 dagger brush, or angled, slanted, more than any other. Well, about to see a little glitch in the filming because I have to take a pause for a second, and I will be right back. All right, we're back. So what I've done so far, close the blinds, and then put in a dual headlamp. Allows a little different lighting. Hopefully, you can see a little bit better colors. For those that are just making observation notes of your own filming of artwork, there you go. Anyway, this time of day, just where the sun comes in, it's not good for the camera, but I do like it for the lighting for this. But in the meantime, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to continue to kind of work on this. I know that there's going to be a little bit of a highlight across here where you can blend in while this is still wet. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight into the sidewalk. Just to give me a point to look at later. For the rest of these areas right here, we're just going to start putting in some of these highlights. I know that there's some stones in this area that are a little brighter, and I know they intersect. The nice thing about cobblestones is they're not perfect, you know. They do have a symmetry to them of some sort. They can be forgiving. Certainly takes some time. I found that when doing stones or cobblestones, it's almost like once you find the appropriate shade to light, you can get that effect you want, and then the scaling of that shade to light, and then the tones as the imperfection of stones. The stone itself could have different ores in it that reflect different colors, like from rust to just about anything. Black spots, sun bleaching, and it just kind of gives you an idea, like you're going to go over it several times. So let's say the base color for most of your stones is gray, and they have some type of yellow reflection, like in this case, or some bleaching spots, or snow, or leaves, or dirt, or moss. I mean, you can imagine at different times. You'd be amazed that it's through 4 or 5 brushes over 10 different sessions. Finally, you start to kind of see this pattern, and it comes together. But certainly when you're first doing stones or structures like this, it just looks like madness. So you just gotta have a little faith in yourself. Oh, we know what time it is on the East Coast. On that note, let's pause for a second. Can't fit me in one shoebox, can you? All right. So, I notice that when we get into some of these colors here, there's some pinkish colors that are taking place in this painting. And I think it's safe to say that I can get a little bit of those pinkish or carnation type hues into the painting. I've actually done quite a few paintings that there seems to be a little bit of a hue in there of some pinkish tones. So we're gonna get a little bit in there, kind of bring some warmth to the cement on the side of the stones. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I noticed that predominantly somewhere around here, we're gonna have more pink and yellow kind of tones in this area. And it's gonna have a pattern in the cobblestone eventually. If you want to be, somewhat exact in our designing, then we need to get these colors in here. And you see there I had kind of an imperfection where the building touches the street. Again, it's all that will be ironed out in the detailing. Not worried about straight lines at this point. More concerned about getting these pinkish tones kind of in here. Let's just give you an idea. I can go ahead and put a little more pink in this, up in this area, and then mute it with some gray. This will also likely fade in tone when it happens. Too much Naples yellow there, that's okay. What I'm doing right now is I'm kind of chasing these colors around. I'm giving myself different colors to work with. Right in this area here. Just kind of chasing the colors around until I get what I want. We can detensify those colors later. And what I'm noticing here is a pattern. There's a lighting pattern. The stones are reflecting the light in this way. And there's gonna be more definition as it gets closer to us. I made an observation in nature the other day, and this kind of applies with stones as well, I think. That observation was when you look out in nature and you look at the landscape, you'll notice that when you go look far out, it's one solid color, and the further you go out, it's muted, unless for some reason the sky has opened up in the canopy of the clouds and has allowed the landscape to end up becoming the focal point or the subject, whatever, interchange it as you wish. I don't care. But when you talk about a crop closer to you, foliage, a field of greens growing closer to you, not only are you going to have more variety in colors, you're going to see the shade underneath a bough of leaves overhanging another branch or bough of leaves. Likewise, each of those leaves that are canted into the direction of the sunlight will have a brighter color to them. It could be gray, but still be brighter than dark green. It could be a little bit of blue because the sheen of the leaf is reflecting some of those things. So what's the point of what's the observation? The observation in nature is that the closer things get, the more colors are present, more variety of colors, as well as a preponderance for contrast, light versus dark. Those details are there. The further you go out, there's not as much contrast. There's more of kind of like these are blocking techniques. For example, as I go further out, this building looks brighter than these walls. This rooftop seems brighter than these walls because at a distance, the sun is doing things in areas where we are not standing. And where we are standing right now is here looking down. And these walls, given sunlight, would probably, like here, would look more like this, right? So that's what we're going for. That's what makes artwork look interesting, is that change, that warmth. So we're going to add a little bit of detail onto these here. Just kind of blend them in, just put some pinks in there. They'll pay off later. I've never seen a solid color in stone. Again, it might be further down, a little bit of that, but in this case, no. We're going to have a sidewalk entry in this area, and it's gonna, so we're almost there. We're gonna have a little sidewalk and entry. We can see our overhang right here. And eventually I'm going to figure out the pattern for these things, but I know that the first one is going to have a pattern like this. And we have the utility door, or we got an access point for the utilities on the street right here. For either oil or gas or something. And we'll give that a nice rusty lid to it. At another point in time, Today, again, we're just trying to get these highlights in here. Nothing crazy. That one's a little brighter than it needs to be, but it's okay. We'll mute it down. So we can take a little bit of this gray, put it in there like that. And then we notice that we also are going to have, there seems to be a little bit of highlight in this area that's going to kind of go like this. Same here. So painting is about being daring, in my opinion. You gotta be a little daring. Can't be scared. Just gotta try it. What's the worst that can happen? You know, it can sit on a wall that you can stare at years down the road for a grandkid, or maybe somebody wanted to have it. Maybe somebody wants a memory in their home, right? I'm here to tell you, most people that have some of my paintings, when I was doing the painting, sometimes I didn't know that, I was making something somebody really desired, but it meant something to them. And I like that I get to be part of that. It's a lot of fun being part of that. So this looks like a mess, but I'm telling you, over time, it's going to work itself out. So what we have here now is we do have some other pinks and grays that are taking place elsewhere on this painting, and getting that muted down to a color that's acceptable can be quite a challenge. I don't believe that it's too bad, or I don't think it's too horrible at this time, this early in the painting, to have some intensity in the changes. If anything, it'll help us navigate the lights and the shades to where we can pinpoint that later. I think we can comfortably start putting some colors in here that will break up the monotony of these stones. I mean, certainly we got room for error with these cobblestones. Let me get in here with a little bit of some changes and some blending. So I'll do this for a little while. Just change up the intensity. I can add some brights in here on occasion. We're just gonna kind of break up the pattern a little bit. Give it some life. What's also nice about not really being accurate right now and just getting these patterns is that it gives us the opportunity to find the pattern later and to correct it, because all these splotches, their size, their shape, these are big splotches, these are little splotches, little highlights, it's gonna change. And I find that you chase your tail less if you chase your tail less if you give yourself an opportunity to not be so detailed up front. So what we're doing here is we're just trying to change up some of these hues on these stones. These cobblestones will get closer, create the illusion that we have different objects reflecting on the face of the cobblestones. And we're starting to get a little bit more. I got some grays in here we need to put in here. That's gray. A little darker. We'll do a little. Okay. At this point, I may or may not fast forward into quick speed or double time, 16 times speed. We'll see. But I'm just going to keep continuing on, and when I get done, I'll say farewell for the night. Okay, so here we are. I'm going ahead and working on a few highlights on this side. Nothing too crazy. I also noticed we've got seems to be like a purple, more of a purple line. It seems to be. We got a purple line parallel to this one. And that line will be perfected upon later, but not right now. Again, not worried about perfection at this point. I'll give you an example. I can take a little bit of this black right here and do this. Neat that up and literally just darken that up with some black. Make it kind of disappear. See? Not concerned entirely at this point. Not concerned at all. We will touch it up and get it to where it needs to be at a later point in time. But I will say, if you get blobs of paint and you don't brush it out at this point as you're shading, you could have bumps. And those bumps, just like the texture of the canvas, can be a little challenging. And we're going to go ahead and do some highlights on this side. I notice we have a little bit somewhat of a highlight in this area right here. So at this point, I'm just making like, I want it to appear like the changing color kind of moves out, it kind of glows a little bit. Again, we'll figure out our pattern later. getting to a point where I'm going to take a break from the cobblestones because A, I need to take a break. B is because we need to get to a point where we can let this set, because these areas in here, here, and here are reflecting more of the sky, and we can't make this muddy. So it's going to have to sit. Now, blue and purple are obviously more forgiving, but blue and yellow are not. Okay. Yeah. So I think at this point, if we are able to pause at this part, and we should be able to, next session, we'll work on these other areas here. We may even work on the sky, do the sky, because I have a second painting I have to work on the sky. And so if we can do that, I can get 2 done on one time. And then once the sky is kind of almost there, we can work on those high rises, and then we can add some detail to the sky. But in the meantime, we're about to call this quits for the day. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on this little adventure for the day. Yeah. So we'll see what we do next. Don't know yet, but here's an idea of what it looks like at the end of the day. It's just a little fun. So in some closing words, I would say if you're thinking about getting into art, doing something, do it. Don't be scared. You learn about yourself, you learn about others. And yeah. So, have a wonderful evening. Bye.